Gelato. Probably one of the most well-known foods in Italy, apart from spaghetti and its inseparable sidekick, meatballs. Before I left for Italy, I heard a catchy song praising gelato, so I got kind of excited. It was cleverly called Peach Gelato, and in anticipation in arriving, I decided I just simply must have a big old scoop of peach gelato once arriving as, a little reward for surviving the worst airport experience possible. That felt reasonable enough. I mean, it's Italy. Gelato's like everywhere. It's like going to America and I'll just get McDonald's. Duh. But, after a week in Milan, I noticed something strange. There was chocolate flavored, pistachio, lemon, stracciatella, and they even have a nifty flavor called Grandma's Curse, and I don't even want to know what's inside of that one. But there was no peach, and so naturally I just got chocolate. But then a few days went by and I still couldn't find peach. And so I got a little invested, and then my roommates got invested, and we checked every single gelato shop in the entire city of Milan. And, that's kind of tough considering there's one every 10 steps. But, I'm sure you aren't here to hear about my ice cream stories. So, between immigration offices, Olympics, wine tasting, and pasta, this is my semester studying abroad in Italy. So, why did I choose to study in Italy? Well, two big reasons. One, Alex already went to Spain, so that was not on the list anymore. And two, I wanted to get in touch with my Italian roots. But honestly, I didn't really know much about Milan as a city itself, and I would probably gander that some of you don't either, and that probably a handful of you didn't even know I studied in Milan. So, what was life like in Milan? Milan is one of 4 fashion capitals in the world. There is New York City, Paris, London, and Milan. Milan's a very future-oriented city, being Italy's biggest financial hub, fashion hub, and having architecture that blends all the old Italian with the new. It's a charming and incredibly clean city with one of the most perfect temperatures year-round. There's very kind locals, and yet there is no peach gelato. Being Milan's fashion capital, you might be wondering, did my fashion sense increase? And you can be darn right it did. I bought 3 Rolexes, I bought a pair of Prada shoes, I bought a suit from Armani, I have a Lamborghini out back, and no, not really. I mostly just stopped wearing sweatpants to school. Milan has numerous parts to it. The Navili Canal, where all the cool kids hang out, the Duomo Plaza, where one of the biggest churches on the planet's at, The Last Supper, painted by none other than the big Da Vinci, and so much more. And Milan definitely felt big at first, but I learned it super quickly. And this was mostly because right in the middle of the city was the Duomo. The Duomo has the most statues of any building on Earth, and the church was under construction for 600 years. And little by little, the city became more familiar, and all these big landmarks kind of just became reference points for me as I navigated the city. One of my favorite spots in Milan was Gioia Park, right next to the Library of Trees. It felt modern, open, and very utopian, and there was these pockets that looked very futuristic and kind of pointed to a future for Europe. Milan also had a lot of events going on while I was there. For example, there was Fashion Week, where celebrities would sit around in a room and look at some clothes. There was Design Week, where the city was filled with the latest and greatest inventions, like the banana house. And then there was also a small event called the Olympics. This is where I got my first visitors from Mum, Dad, and Philip. The whole city was prepping for the Olympic Games. In fact, my school had the torch passing come right through it. The final Olympic torch spot was right under the Arco de Apache. We also saw the opening ceremony, the figure skating finals, and the Olympic hockey team when Will Owens visited. Near the end of the semester, Inter Milan won the Italian soccer league Serie A, which ended up looking like this. It was a good thing they did because Italy's national team couldn't even make the World Cup. So, walking through Navili at night, finding a new church, going to Easter Mass at the Duomo, and guiding my friends around the city made Milan feel much more like a home to me. I was super comfortable here, and I had a normal daily life. I walked to the gym through the big park, Don Luigi. I went to class. I found new spots to eat, and eventually I didn't have to use Google Maps anymore, which was great. And once Milan felt like home, everything changed. Sometimes the nicest spot of where you're staying and studying and just traveling in general is kind of just staying in the same spot instead of going somewhere. You know, like really trying to make a home out of where you're at. And, you know, it's like sunsets that like these that kind of remind me of home a little bit. Really make me appreciate my time here a little bit more. Living abroad was coincidentally my first time really living on my own and having my own apartment, which means I had to cook for myself and manage money, if you could believe that. And I learned how to speak un piccolo Italian just to, survive. It would be a gluten-free person's worst nightmare to study in Italy. And as beautiful as Italy is, most of my time was spent doing just like daily, normal things. For example, doing laundry that had no dryer, which means I had to wait a few days for my clothes to be dry. It meant doing a lot of studying because there's no such thing as homework at my university, apparently. And the food in Italy is obviously incredible. I got my top five dishes, which is gnocchi, carbonara, pizza, focaccia, and lasagna. Those five are my favorite. I had to learn how to grocery shop in a new country on a budget, and I had to figure out if milk was supposed to stay unrefrigerated. I also had to learn how to cook on my own, just enough to get by, and with the help of Levi, one of my roommates, I learned how to cook pretty well, actually. He graciously made us dinner every so often, which included the big Easter feast, which felt like a pretty big victory. I made the salad. So, my other roommate was Jack, a Moline native, who was already on his second study abroad journey, and a fellow Bocconi survivor. Another thing I got used to was aperitivo. Aperitivo is a secret fourth meal in Italy, which is their way of having happy hour with some snacks. We did a lot of exploring together, and one example that Levi insisted was included in this vlog is the Optical Illusion Church.
What you think is like so deep and like so big, but like it's actually like so deep and so big, so true.
There are plenty of new restaurants, bars, and areas to find every day. And again, the smaller things in Milan, such as walking to school, going to the gym, going on runs, it's more than just appreciating a foreign city, but just appreciating life in general. You know, starting study abroad, I had to watch my family just leave, and I was on my own, so you really had to lean on who you had, and then expand your circle to meet new people, which can be tough in a foreign country. And despite all this daily exploration and running to pizza vending machines, there was no peach gelatos. And at this point, I doubted it existed. But I had bigger problems to worry about than ice cream.
All right, quick room tour, super quick. Shoes go off, and then you got the living room and the kitchen, and I gotta take the trash out. This is where we do our homework / eat. This is where we watch 7 seasons of The Office. Fridge. Little kitchen area. I got some of the dishes to do, but it's a super small kitchen area too. Like, this is extremely small. Laundry machine, balcony. It's not huge, but it's a balcony. And then the mirror, and then the bathroom, and then our bedroom. So it's again a huge mess because I'm packing. But 1, 2, 3 beds. We all we share the same room. But desk, insanely messy. But yeah, that's our room.
Now, a lot of my travels, and probably a majority of them in fact, stayed within the country of Italy itself. The country's just so big and there's so much to do. And all these places that are like a once-in-a-lifetime destination were literally just a 2-hour train away. So, only one thing to do.
I started going.
And the first place I went to outside Milan was Lake Como, which I actually went to 2 times. Once in the winter with my family, and then later in the spring when it was a lot nicer outside. Lake Como is a super popular spot in the Swiss Alps that has the famous Star Wars scene where Anakin reveals that he doesn't like sand. The second time I went to Como, I took a boat to Bellagio, which is where I took all my performative pictures. Next on the list was Rimini and San Marino. And technically San Marino is its own country, completely surrounded by Italy. We had to take a bus that went to Rimini and then took another bus from Rimini to San Marino. And the whole trip up was just a giant scenic mountain. And the whole tiny country is just like a giant Game of Thrones episode. There's literally fortresses, towers, cliffs, insane winds, and cannons. It's just everywhere. So here we are, San Marino. We got real cannons here in the castle courtyard. This is the first tower, and that's the view off the tower. So up these stairs, you get a kind of the edge of this fortress here. There's the tower, and way out of the edge you can see the second of the 3 towers. Look at that. Obviously, at the highest point on mountain, it's called Mount Titano, Titan. And you can see the ocean, or I guess Mediterranean Sea, all the way out there. The whole entire mountain had every government building, had schools, and there's all surrounded by castle walls. It's a really unique place. Even Rimini was nice though. We just used it as a home base for San Marino, but honestly, it might be the first and last February that I spend on an Italian beach at midnight after eating all-you-can-eat sushi. Next, we went to Venice. The canals here are all real. If you look up pictures, those are all pretty legit. All the boats are real. In the canal, the gondola ride, 90 euros. And you know, I decided that one of the best parts about being single is that I don't have to pay 90 euros for a romantic gondola ride. So I skipped it. Levi and I got pretty lucky with a pretty beautiful day. We saw St. Mark's Square. We went inside. We even took a boat to a different island to watch some glass making. Venice is a super big glass making city. And Venice is also where Vivaldi was born. So yeah. We also had a seagull poop on us. Levi and I went to Bologna where I reunited with the long-lost family. Yes, thank you, Uncle Jim. Shout out Uncle Jim for that. And yeah, we actually do have real-life relatives in Italy. It's not just, fake that we're Italian. And honestly, they were some of the kindest people that I've ever met. We saw San Luca on the hill. We walked through Piazza Maggiore. We saw the Maserati statue, Neptune. We saw the cathedral, the Leaning Tower, and we saw arrows stuck in the roof. It was by far the best food of the entire country. Bologna felt incredibly authentic and one of the most lively cities. And honestly, just like a big shout out to, my family to just like showing me around everywhere. Genuinely one of the nicest things ever. And also Toby, the incredible Maltese that somehow complained the least out of everyone during the 30,000 step day. So, Florence was beautiful too. We stopped on the way back from Montpuliciano, more on that later. We saw their famous Duomo. We went inside on Palm Sunday. Tried affogato, which is a little ice cream and espresso. Okay, so we're in Florence. We got a little affogato action, which is some ice cream and coffee, and it probably sounds pretty good. If you make this in the U.S., you're probably called, you probably get a strange look. You might be called, I don't know, big and chunky or something. But if making in Italy, you're Da Vinci. You're a genius here. So we're gonna try this out.
It's the best stuff in the world. I'm gonna miss this the most.
Look at that.
So good.
I mean, can't be bad, right? Let's try this out. We did a little wine window thing. Okay, so what you do here is you order your wine in this little goofy window, which is like really small. This might be, it's very small. You ring the goofy bell, and then they give you your wine. And there we go. Look at that.
Can I make a picture for you from the side?
Okay, so we have a line. So you have to re-ring the bell.
Can I get the Prosecco DOCG?
Look at that. Professionals here. And we walked up to the Piazzale Michelangelo. We saw the famous bridge, we got some of the best views of the city, etc., etc. Gorgeous town. Incredibly, I misscheduled my train ticket to leave just 1 hour earlier than everyone else. Which, you know, that's not a big deal, right? You know, I should be fine. Except the second I left, everyone just walked into a random gelato shop, and guess what was there? Beach gelato. So, yeah, I didn't get any. I was the only one who didn't get any. That's cool, though. That's cool. Cinque Terre was probably the most physically aggravating trip of all time. I mean, who wants to wake up at 5 a.m. and climb up a mountain at a 55-degree angle for $100? Well, I did it anyways, obviously. Well, the water was just insanely clear, and yeah, the hike was the worst thing ever. I was not exaggerating. Cinque Terre literally means 5 towns, and they're all connected by one hiking trail called the Blue Trail. Vernazza was probably my favorite of the 5. It was here that pesto was invented, and so I had a pesto gnocchi, and it was literally incredible. It was insane. We took a ferry to the Monte Rosso to swim, and the water was super, super freezing, but I had to swim in it. It was so clear. It was slightly questionable, but it was worth it. And there's the big one. I spent my entire spring break in Rome, and Rome wasn't just pretty, it was overwhelming, which is why it gets its own section. Rome is the capital of Italy, and I spent 5 whole days there with my fraternity brothers. I took a 5-hour train from Milan just to meet up with everyone, and there was a total of 15 of us, which you could probably imagine was pretty difficult exploring such a large and narrow city. Dunlap Nation, it's your boy, Loon 5. Just gonna walk around this Milan neighborhood. Ain't gonna cap, bro. I don't even know what y'all know about this, bro. When I got off the train, Rome just had a different aura, which is stupid, but it's like, seriously, it like felt so much different. So other cities, you just have to like find all the historic sites. In Rome, it's the whole city. The whole thing is historic. And I remember walking to the Airbnb and accidentally walking into the Roman Forum, which 2,000 years ago was the main city center for ancient Rome. And it's kind of hard to see, it's kind of hard to imagine just seeing the greatest empire that ever existed on your way across town, only to see that it had been taken over by a bunch of stray cats. I bet Yoshi's rubbing his paws right now. The Airbnb itself was rather interesting. To get there, you had to go up a hill, go through a gate, down some stairs, down some more stairs, and then down some more stairs. And unfortunately, the wooden door also hadn't been upgraded for 2,000 years. And I had the key, and I couldn't get in it, and so I had to wait outside it for an hour, just waiting for everyone else, like a bum. So Rome had a lot of sights to see besides the door, though, which includes the Pantheon, the Spanish Steps, the Trevi Fountain, tucked away in a random neighborhood, and right next to it, a shop that boasted it had every gelato flavor under the sun. Shout out Jack Morris. And admittedly, they had 200 flavors. They had Grandma's Curse again. They had cinnamon roll, but you can bet your butt they didn't have peach. So the Colosseum absolutely lived up to the hype. Seeing it from the outside was crazy, but the inside was crazy as well. Now, there's a lot of history with the Colosseum, obviously. Fun fact, they used to flood the Colosseum, and they had boat battles in the middle of it. I think the best part of the history part was Roman Forum, though. And once I actually explored it properly, I really started falling in love with the history of Rome. It's kind of hard to describe without being dramatic or cliche, but it was odd walking through the ancient ruins. In fact, just a few blocks away from my Airbnb was where Julius Caesar was stabbed. But Rome was my favorite spot for more than just the places, but the people too. A lot of the trip we spent just hanging out, watching March Madness at some apartments. I think it's kind of cool to see how all of us ended up in Italy at the exact same time. It's just a big, not really a coincidence because it was planned, but it's just very cool to see. And it reminds me that abroad is kind of strange because, you know, people come in and out of your life and you meet up, you have a few days together, and then they just go back to their own version of their semester abroad. Completely different from what I'm telling you right now. But obviously Rome wouldn't be complete without mentioning the Vatican City, which is its own country, so special mention. And the Vatican's definitely different from the rest of Rome. It's high up, surrounded by walls, and it's protected by the Swiss Guard. It was actually too crowded to go in on the first day, so we had to go back the next day, but it was worth it. I did a confession there. I saw the tombs of the old popes. And again, without wanting to be too dramatic, it's just incredibly difficult to describe how moving the place is when you're there. It was easily the most beautiful building in all of Europe. So Rome was my biggest trip, and I went to extra details just to give the full scope. But there was one more spot in Italy I went to, and it was the complete polar opposite of Rome. And probably the most random place I went to was this tiny hill town in Tuscany that I didn't even want to go to at first. It was too expensive, and it just kind of seemed like it was in the middle of nowhere. I wasn't really wanting to take too many risks, but I went anyway. It's a little town called Montpuliciano, and the whole idea was Jack's idea, and Jack so far has preferred trips off the beaten path, if you will. And I, for one, I don't really mind a beaten path. So, most beaten paths include modern comforts such as McDonald's, KFC, and I guess Arby's, but maybe that's the reason they get off it. But anyways, I decided I had to step out of my comfort zone, so I went all the way to Tuscany. So Montepulciano is pridefully known for their expert and historical winemaking expertise. It is a small stone town on top of a hillside surrounded by countless vineyards and wine enthusiasts, and only an amount of wine that Aunt Lorraine would dream of. The town itself was built on narrow streets, stone buildings, and high-rise walls, and the views were absolutely stunning. To truly appreciate this town, we did what all good visitors should do, and that was drink wine. We started off with a wine tour at De Ricci, and this place was absolutely insane. De Ricci literally translates to the hedgehog, and the hedgehog's big secret winemaking lair was deep underground in a place called the Wine Cathedral. And I don't say it was cavernous in a metaphorical way, it was literally a cavern. There were huge barrels almost 12 feet tall everywhere, and these old tunnels, and we tried out 6 different wines that they made there, which we all know that a 21-year-old like myself could
properly appreciate the art and the flavor in each delicate and expensive sip.
Okay, so we got 6 different kinds of wines here, which is enough, to say the least. We got a little, call it aperitif action going on with it. And so the cool thing about the wines here, according to our tour guide, was the native Nobile wines, which is, right here's the 100%, which is super expensive. But I prefer this one right here, and not because it is 80 euros cheaper to send back home.
And I, for the first one, I think I had a few hints of grape. I'll leave that one up to the experts. And so that's why I'm actually going to quickly pause this video to reveal a small trick up my sleeve. Wow, what a generous grandson. Yeah, let's go. Wow, let's go. And, shipping a few wines home felt much more practical than a random souvenir that I found, though I got some of those too, to be fair. So when you sip on that wine, it came directly from Montpuliciano, the middle of Tuscany in Italy. We went on a second wine tour, and instead of caves where Batman himself would have felt cozy, this one was on a remote farm outside of town. It was a much more personal experience. There were a lot of vineyards and open fields, animals, and these dogs that would give all the pets in our family combined a run for their money. Even Charlie. Ooh. This was easily the most quote-unquote authentic thing that I did. This is one of those experiences that you'll never see advertised. I mean, we literally stumbled upon some random lady's farm and drank some of her wine while petting her dogs. So,
she's like half my height. Just my waist. It's crazy. Okay, we made it to the second wine tour. Check this out. Hey there. We got a lot going on here. Turn the camera. Look at that. Vineyards. Pretty. Oh, I think there's another chubby puppy. That one's only 1. This one's 14, if you can believe that. But we're gonna get into the important stuff, which is the wine. But, there's dogs too, so you gotta pet the dogs.
Montpuliciano was not the biggest or the most famous place I visited, but it was very, very homey. The vineyards and farms reminded me of a home in a way that I did not really expect. And maybe it was the old Italian house that reminded me of Nona's house, or the vineyard that reminded me of Dion Hahn's vineyard. Montpuliciano was a nice chance to slow down. And it was also where I watched Illinois whoop Iowa's butt to get to the Final Four, which kind of helps a little bit. So, sometimes the most important and memorable things in life are the ones you're skeptical about doing. So be sure to say yes to things even when you're feeling tired, lazy, or you're just feeling down. Just always be a yes person, especially if there's wine involved.
At this point, you're probably saying, this is all cool, but we kind of want to know where you went outside of Italy, like what other countries you go to, and then let's wrap this up, right? Yeah, I actually agree. I think it's about that time, so we're gonna get rolling with that. So here we go. First, I just wanted to say that traveling out of Milan was not super easy, and it was way more expensive than I thought, but it still beats the atrocious flight prices of the U.S. But to avoid that flight price, my first stop out of Italy was in Chamonix, France, where we took a bus to the foot of Mont Blanc, the tallest mountain in all of Europe. Jack, Levi, and myself took a bus down there, obviously, and it kind of looked like Santa's secret workshop when we arrived. The town was a small, snowy one in the middle of an enormous valley that my camera could hardly even capture in one shot. We stayed in this cabin owned by some Latvian guys who graciously made us beans and toast each morning for breakfast. How scrumptious. It was a perfect meal to fill us up for a full day of skiing, and it was my first time skiing, and mark my words, the last time as well. Honestly, you could forget the bunny hill. I couldn't even get up when I fell, which was pretty quickly into it. If you've never skied before, you should definitely try it out and determine if you ever want to do it again. But to be fair, I can confidently say I skied the French Alps, and It sounds impressive as long as you don't ask too many follow-up questions. Next place I went to was Dublin, which is the capital of Ireland, and it was where I met up with my fraternity brothers for the first time. We saw Trinity College, which had a super big campus, a lot of history there that, I'm not super familiar with, but it's an old college there. We went to Temple Bar and some other bars. We visited Carol's gift shop, which was especially cool because apparently my great-grandmother helped start it. One of the best parts of Ireland, though, was a nearby town called Howth. It was an easy train ride away, only 30 minutes, and it was a coastside town where there were plenty of seafood restaurants and cliffs and rolling fields and a beautiful sunset and a bit of Guinness, too. I think the Irish deserve a little more credit for their food selection. I had some fish and chips and some seafood pie and shepherd's pie and chicken pot pie and other pies, I suppose. The next place I went to was Paris, which is the capital of France, and my second time to the country of France now. And there is an absurd amount to see and do here, notably like the Notre Dame, Sainte-Chapelle, the Louvre, Napoleon's Quarters, Mona Lisa, the Winged Victory, Versailles Palace, the Hall of Mirrors, the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, and the worst cheese you've ever tasted. I think my favorite part was actually the Eiffel Tower. It was more impressive than you think, which I was a little afraid it'd be overrated, but it definitely was not. It's so impressive in real life. I think the other coolest part was the Palace of Versailles, which has like a lot of history there. It's where the French Revolution started. It's where World War I ended too, so super cool. The next stop was way in March at the start of our spring break, where Jack and I went to Munich, Germany. Munich is a very clean, organized, and pretty city. Within the first hour, we spotted someone playing the accordion and helped ourselves to a Heineken beer. We also saw some other questionable instrument playing, such as this. We went to Marienplatz, saw the Glockenspiel, watched street performers. We played some hoops, ate some sausage, pretzels, and we kind of embraced every German stereotype possible, which I think is the best way to do it, actually. We also saw the BMW headquarters, which felt like a giant test track area from Disney. So there's super futuristic cars and Rolls Royces, and it neighbored the Olympic Park. It was a huge park with a lot of hills full of water and cherry blossoms. We also played a game of hoops, which was a good reminder that I'm good at hoops. The next day, we took a 3-hour train to Fussen in Germany to see Neuschwanstein Castle, which was what Cinderella's castle is based off of, but it's so crazy because it's real. It was an actual castle. And it's in the middle of the mountains, right next to a lake, and there's so much history going on there. It's exactly what you'd imagine when you hear or picture a castle. We also saw Hohenschwangau Castle, where King Ludwig II grew up. I don't know how to pronounce that right, and I probably never will. After that, we spent the rest of our spring break in Barcelona, Spain. First, I thought I bought tickets to go to the Sagrada Familia, but we ended up going to Casa Mila instead, which was a good mistake because it was actually incredibly artistic. It was a super fun time. And then we did go to the Sagrada Familia, which is finally finished, apparently. I don't know if that's true because there's still a giant crane in front of it, but apparently it's finished now. Then we hiked all the way up to the Carmel Bunkers for the sunset, which was miles and miles uphill. But the view was incredible. It was then I was informed that Tame Impala was in town and playing in about 30 minutes. The only problem was we were on a mountain and we were 90 minutes away. But the ticket prices online just kept dropping and dropping and dropping, so we finally just pulled the trigger and we left and we went. And honestly, I think that's what studying abroad's all about. Making questionable decisions in a foreign country where you don't know where you're at. The next day we hit La Boqueria Market, Parkway, and the Olympic Park area. Keep hitting cities that had the Olympics, but we saw the Spanish Arc de Triomphe and the nifty Dow Jones bar, where the drink prices would fluctuate like the stock market. We also helped ourselves to quite a few tapas, real tapas crawl idea. But yeah, and then we spent one day just chilling on the beach. So I think Barcelona was definitely my favorite out-of-country experience. My last out-of-country spot was Lisbon, which is the capital of Portugal. And you would think Ronaldo himself saved the world with his bare hands with how many statues and posters there were of him around the city. I went to Lisbon with Levi, where we stayed at an Airbnb owned by a lady from Hong Kong, and owned about $5,000 worth of Legos sitting around the place. We started Lisbon by going to São Jorge Castle, which was heavily guarded by a bunch of peacocks. There were some old walls, canyons, city views, and peacocks.
Making the rainy day suddenly bright. Not just a mender of iron and bone, he's a weaver of rainbows.
You say peacock. I don't imagine You say
This is a bird responsible for gatekeeping a random NFL game once a year because, peacock. Then we went to Santa Lucia viewpoint, saw the cathedral from outside, walked to Parque do Comercio, and saw these gorgeous waves by the water.
Yeah, ready? Yeah, I gotta go on. Alright, we're in Lisbon, Portugal, the capital of the country. And right behind me in the Delta area, we got the knockoff Golden Gate Bridge built by the same company, and the knockoff Christ the Redeemer statue. So we're kind of just combining a little bit of everything here.
Don't the Brazilians speak Portuguese?
Yeah, they do.
So maybe the Christ the Redeemer is from here, and they just built another one.
Obviously, we have the sea behind us, and over here we have the big plaza.
Lisbon also had Pink Street, where we got some of the best cocktails and the best shrimp I've ever had, and overall relatively cheap food. So after about 5 months in Europe, I began to start respecting and really looking for that cheap food. Trust me on that. We walked through a couple more parks, saw some other parts of town, and then ended up going to a concert that night. So I've officially been to more concerts in Europe than the US, which is kind of crazy. And that was everywhere I went outside the country. There was mountains and museums and castles and concerts and cliffs, and a level of freedom that's not really realistic to sustain, honestly, because as fun as it was, life back home was still happening without me. But there's still one more thing I had to do before I went back. So, unfortunately, my time abroad was coming to a close in May, which meant two things. First, the reality of having to leave was settling in, and so I tried doing as much as I could around Milan with Jack and Levi. And one of those things included a little feast at the end.
We got the Last Supper here. Levi, why don't you guide us through what's going on here?
Yeah, we got our aperitif.
Yes.
Bread, cheese, meat, and olives, but
Obviously, we ate most of it. Yes.
my favorite bakery, yeah.
Yeah.
And for our first course, we got
First course.
noodles. Mm-hmm. Well, no, pasta. It's pasta. I can't say noodles. And we got zucchini, shrimp, with some lemon and parmesan. So
Yeah, we got some.
And most
peach
importantly,
bellini.
we are pairing it with a lovely bottle of white wine from Tiberini
Oh yeah.
and the hills of Montepulciano. White Cambio. Love
Was
it.
Tiberini the small vineyard or the?
Which was super awesome. It's a weird feeling getting a sample of what life could be like if, say, I was born in Italy. It's like having a free trial of living someone else's life. It's strange, but it's it's oddly profound. The second thing that this all meant was that exams were coming. And the exams here stink. They suck. 75% of your final grade rested on 20 multiple choice questions. And you can bet your butt there was no study guide. But as I studied and locked in for exams, it was nice just being able to live a routinely daily life in Milan. Going to school and going for a run, trying out a new restaurant. I think my daily habits and life in Italy is what made it so special for me. Just the normal parts of it. And all this talk about Milan being, a big fashion place, a lot of that comes from this building right next to it. Galleria. Right next to the Big D. The Duomo, that is. All right, guys, we're here, beautiful Lake Como, and that's gonna do it for the video today. We got it back here, yeah. It's been super awesome traveling around Italy, and just getting to even do this is kind of crazy. But maybe I'll make another travel video one day. But until then, I'm gonna go enjoy this peach gelato.
Ma dove